Well, thank you so much for being here today. I would like to start this interview with can you tell me a little bit about your career path and how you got to where you are today?
Of course. Hey guys, my name is Mashruba Rashid, and I am a tax consultant at Ryan LLC. I actually graduated from UNT, class of 2019. I majored in finance. I always loved the idea of business since I was a kid. I think it just started off with just this like introduction to business, like class in middle school, and then like just with peers and just people I looked up to in general and family members. I've just always thought like business was going to be the route for me. I just didn't have an idea of like which major it would be yet, but I knew that was going to be okay. Like I had time. And then even in college, I had time as well, just because, you have your first 2 years just kind of undeclared anyway. So, during that journey, when I first came to UNT, I was gonna start actually doing accounting, thinking that I was gonna go the CPA route. And then within that 2 years, when I was like getting ready to declare my major, I I wasn't like truly fulfilled with just majoring in accounting. I was like, what if there's like other routes in business that I could do? And part of me wanted to see what marketing was about. I love the idea of branding, and so I was like, let me just take a class. And then also I picked up an internship in marketing just to kind of like see how it could help me out, give me that exposure to just to kind of help me answer that question for myself, like, is marketing something that I could do? And I truly loved my internship, but I wasn't feeling that full fulfillment either there. And so I was just somewhere in between accounting and marketing. Finance came into play, just because I've heard a lot of my family members like talk about it, and just like I started realizing like finance is a very broad major, and I wanted to pick a major that like resonated with just how I think. I like to have an open mindset, and I feel like finance is very broad, and there's so many different channels to go within finance. And even if I wanted to do accounting, I could still do accounting. And if I really wanted to do marketing, well, I can enter a firm, doing finance, and then somewhere along the way I could meet people in the marketing department and just kind of like go on that route too. So I just felt like finance felt right. And that's how I graduated with. And I also ended up, because I took enough marketing classes, I ended up having that as my minor. So yeah, it was definitely happy with what I ended up studying. And how I came to Ryan. Well, that was through the UNT Career Fair. I got an internship, and it was an amazing experience. Clearly, because I'm still here. And so I got a job offer right after that internship. So it was nice because my job was set after graduation. I just kind of had, I just kind of took it easy my senior year and just made the most of it, and then graduated and then came back to Ryan. So I've been here for almost, I think this year will mark my third year, later this June. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Wow, that's so wonderful. That's so nice. I wish I'd had a job lined up like that. But yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
the
crazy.
power. Sometimes internships can lead to that. So that's really, really wonderful that it was such a good opportunity. You are there today.
For
So
sure. Very grateful.
yeah. So you already talked about your sort of background in education. But what kind of education training or background does your job require? So if a student's going to apply for this job, do they need to have the exact major you did? All those things.
Yeah, so I would say finance and accounting is a pretty like basic requirement, for the job that I do. We basically just kind of also factor in just personality fit as well. I mean, there's so many factors in like our interview process that I really like about, because it's not just about, oh, this person has this amount of accounting hours, and it's just not just about the skills, but the personality factor as well, which I mean I think should be very valued in an interview process. So, but I mean, in today's world, I love how nothing's really traditional anymore. I think it. I feel like there's people out there with like marketing major, but they've had some sort of experience in accounting somehow in an internship, or just like somehow, some way. Like you never know, and maybe that could lead to them getting those 12 credit hours of accounting hours that we need. I'm not 100% sure if that requirement changed or not, but there's a certain credit hours for accounting you need in order to like just be a consultant if you didn't major in finance or accounting and they really like wanted to consider you. So it could be that case too. So I don't want to completely rule out people who aren't finance accounting. Everyone's story is completely different. You know, not everyone in the firm I know majored in finance or accounting. Some people did like economics or something and just got those accounting hours on the side. So, you know, but I would say like, if you're a finance or accounting degree, then I mean, doors open for you to apply for sure. So I would say that is like the main requirement. Other than that, this type of job, we all know like this is not something you learn in class. Like there is a tax accounting course in UNT, but it's very like personal taxes, whereas we do business to business. And so that's not really taught on campus. So, and they know that, so they'll teach you from, you know, from the bottom, just from scratch. And they're willing to like teach you that. And they know that there's a huge learning curve that comes with this. So yeah, I would say just as long as the finance or accounting degree, I think is like the major thing. So
Yeah, that's wonderful feedback and advice for the students. So yeah, especially the part about learning on the job, you know, not expecting you to know everything when you get there. I think that's
exactly. And I feel like, you know, another thing that I feel like I get a question from just certain people who knew that I did an internship is, you know, are they going to expect you to just know everything after the internship and you just like jump right back into full time and they just expect you to know everything? And that's not the case. A project cycle is very, it's not going to be covered in a whole internship in like the 8 weeks that you're in there. So, and they know that. So whenever you return back, you're still learning. You're always going to be learning something new. So I feel like I wouldn't stress too much about that. I feel like the people here at Ryan, they truly get like the learning curve here is like just massive. And, you know, as long as we're able to just know that and just have that patience to teach someone, like not only are you being able to teach someone something, but you're also just kind of like gaining back the fundamentals. And I feel like either way, like both of you guys are gaining from both ends of the spectrum here. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. All right. I'm gonna skip the next question because I feel like you sort of covered the third one. But what does a typical day look like for you?
So it varies, definitely depends. I'm on a lot of different projects. But just to kind of explain like the overall process of my job, basically, a client comes to us, they want us to review, you know, assets that they've acquired, you know, in the X amount of years that they want us to review it in. And they want us to see like, you know, are they exempted from the tax that they've paid on like the equipment, machinery, like whatever it is that they acquired. And so once we kind of like agree on that and open up an engagement with them and talk with them and have those like initial meetings to start everything up, we get the data. And the biggest thing is to make sure the data is right, because, you know, once we start with the data, just go like we just kind of, you know, keep moving forward from there. So making sure the data is right, that's one process. Once we have the data like confirmed and ready, like we set up a whole database to just kind of make it easier for us to efficiently review it. It can be in large, it could be huge, a huge data set, or it could be a small one, just depending on the company and just like the amount of years that they want us to review in. And after that, once review is done, you just kind of like review what you've reviewed and just do final checks and just making sure you're not asking back too much tax, you're not, you know, asking back enough. And, you know, that has a whole process to it. And then, you know, ultimately you just kind of like lead to all the paperwork that kind of like is just part of the refund claim, and then you just submit it. And so very brief overview of what I do. And there's so many little steps into that. So since I'm on different projects, I'm in different parts of the project timeline for each of them. But one day I could be gathering documentation that could be, you know, that I need to be able to review the data, or I could be organizing the data. And it can come in like, you know, it could be like a huge data set. And I'm like just there, like, you know, one day just trying to figure out what's the best way to organize it. And so, you know, another day is just getting paperwork ready. it's just different types of tasks between that timeline. And it just depends on which project I'm on. So hopefully that kind of gives you somewhat of an idea of like what I do on a day-to-day.
Yeah, that is great. It sounds like you are very busy, and probably really great at organizing and multitasking and yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely try to. I mean, there are some days, it depends on a team. Like some teams like travel a lot to the site to kind of like understand like how this product is being made, because the exemptions that are found there that we just need to be able to see and prove. And there's opportunities like that, opportunities just to talk to other clients. Like it's just it's different for each client for sure. But yeah, so that's just kind of the gist of it. And you're just kind of learning a lot along the way. Each client is different. And I think what makes Ryan stand out is that we really dig deep and analyze like what's something like, you know, if we really captured all the refund that they could potentially get, because ultimately the more refund we can get for our clients, the more that they can invest it back into their company and, you know, invest it into something that's more useful. And just help them grow. So,
Yeah, thank you.
mhm.
All right. Who was your mentor in this field?
So I would say my senior consultant. Whenever I first started here, in an internship, Linda is one of the senior consultants that I started with on our team, and we were on one team together. I mean, then we recently moved together on another team, and so I've just been with her, and I'm really grateful for her because, you know, she's like that, you know, someone that has that patience to teach me, has that patience to just, you know, be able to, you know, step back from her busy schedule and like teach me something that I should know. And, you know, just being able to have her by my side along with my other team members, just kind of not feeling intimidated to ask questions. Like we're very just like, we're here to get this job done correctly and efficiently. So if there's just questions I need to be asked, ask them, you know? So that's just kind of the energy that's in our team. And it's just really nice to be around that because, you know, again, like this isn't stuff you just learn from college. You kind of just learn on the job, and each company is just very different. It's not just like data set review, file a refund claim. Everyone has a unique, like everyone has a different accounting system and, you know, different way, or just a different fiscal year. Like all these things you got to like take into consideration and just kind of figure out the puzzle before you start to like really do the work on your end. So sometimes you need help from, you know, just to make sure you're on the right, taking the right steps, and, you know, they're always there. So I would say Linda would probably like be someone that I've had that's always like stuck by me. So yeah.
That's really great. What aspects of this job do you like or dislike?
So what I like a lot is the work-life balance. That is a personal, professional value of mine. I value balance, and for an accounting firm, that is pretty rare to find. So I have so much respect for our CEO that values that. I kind of see it as like, you know, if you don't take the time to take care of yourself, like you're not going to be able to take the time to take care of the company too. And so just to be able to share that value with Ryan, it means a lot to me. So I feel like if you were to ask anyone that works at Ryan, that's going to be like their number one answer is the work-life balance, because it's truly unique here. So I would say like it's not about, you know, making sure you work 9 to 5. It's about just getting the job done like at the right time and correctly. And, you know, other than that, like, you know, just being able to delegate these tasks on your own it's truly a privilege. And so we definitely like want to be able to, you know, be able to work with it so that we can have that balance that we've always wanted. Something that I dislike, I will say the beginning steps of, you know, whenever we get data, it's sometimes they're just clean, ready to go, ready to review. sometimes they're just like a little puzzles. Like it's just, you gotta have to take a step back and just really break it down on why, they accrued this much tax and this way in this month, but they did it completely different in another month. And just like figuring out like what happened there kind of involves like more than one person, like, or just reaching out to the client themselves and, trying to get it straight. I would say sometimes I would say like it can, it kind of pushes back time. But at the same time, every time we've had this kind of issue, we've always come to a solution with it. So, like I know it's something that it will get resolved. We will get this done. It's just, sometimes you got to just like spend a little bit more time on just trying to figure out that you got that right data. So I would say that.
Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Other than maybe some of the obvious courses, would you recommend any specific classes for students to take and that might help them on a career path similar to yours?
Yeah. So I would say looking back, I don't even remember what the course number was, but I'm going to give it a shot. I think it was Marketing 3010. And it's like professional branding or some sort of that name. And I don't know, you guys may have like other new courses, but I know UNT will have a course that kind of works on just branding yourself and just like that resume prep, just getting yourself ready for applying to internships or jobs. And I think that's a very important class to take, just because it's not just about like having this perfect resume, but it's about like being able to practice on expressing yourself. Like you are your brand, like you are an asset on your own. And taking a class like that, and I remember I had to do like mock interviews. I had to do just like certain projects, like again, the resume project, like that was definitely like an obvious assignment, but there were so many other interactive assignments that we had that really helped me become comfortable in talking, to, whether it's like in an interview, whether it's to people. So I would say like working on branding yourself, a class related to that will be extremely beneficial to you. So, yeah.
That's great advice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. What are some other common career paths in this field and like with your major? Yeah.
Common career paths, I would say consulting is a bit like the most common, I would say, just because when I was in college and we were all like trying to get internships or jobs, like we were all just talking about like whether it's the big four firms or like other consulting firms, it was always related to consulting. But for finance, there's so many. And that, again, one of the reasons why I majored in it is because it's just so broad. And, other pathways could be, to banking, investing, real estate. Real estate's a big one. Financial planning, even accounting, if you wanted that. But I would say those would be like the most common. I know there's definitely more, but I'd say those like kind of hit the spot there, like definitely the most common. So
What advice would you give someone who is considering this field?
I would say be open to experiences. I think this could also just kind of speak to any major you may have. Whether it's through internships, you gain something from that, whether it's through just like, trying to have a conversation with someone who works in your field, or, just anyone you look up to and you're able to like talk to them and just kind of ask questions, like that's an experience on its own. And just like getting different perspectives to kind of just see like which pathway is like the best for you. Again, I think in today's world, nothing's traditional anymore. It's not like I'm in finance, I'm only going to do finance. I'm in accounting, I'm only going to do CPA. Like I think the beauty in being open to experiences is that you're just allowing things to just kind of like opportunities to come to you, like whether you start in finance and let's say in that firm, like, you get along really well with the marketing team. Well, maybe you could try out like a project there with them on the side and just like see where it goes. So, and then you could just end up in that route. So it's just being open to experiences. Don't like, think like you majored in this is it. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that majored in something completely different in their undergrad than what they do in their graduate degree, you know, and they do something completely different in the undergraduate degree, but they work in a completely different, you know, so many factors play into that, whether it's like, you know, you came across someone in your network and they just had like a different pathway for you in a different field and you just wanted to like jump into that. So I would just say be open to the experiences and just like what feels right to your heart, and you know, follow it, and you'll ultimately find what you will, you know, you're truly meant to do.
That's wonderful advice. I hope it's okay. I'm going to veer off the list a little bit here. Um, and because you've done such a good job answering these questions that you've already answered some of the ones I had. But I wanted to know if you had any advice, you know, if you wanted, you don't have to, but if you wanted to share how you found your internship in college, if you had any advice for students who are looking for internships, or, you know, sort of how they should go about looking, or networking, or any other thoughts on that.
Yeah, so well, I mean, I feel like mine was a pretty Ryan came into my life through the UNT Career Fair. So but I would say, you know, I think like Handshake has been a great tool, right, you know, there, because, you know, students really get that advantage into you know, applying to internships on there, just because I feel like the talent acquisition team, I know they're always on there. So that's a good tool. And just, you know, again, really taking advantage of the career fairs. I think I think the internship is truly like the best way to kind of score that full-time offer. And I'm not saying it's the only way, like there's so many other ways that, you know, people get jobs, of course, but I'm a pretty big fan of like the internship route, just because I've noticed that the timeline of like when you reach that full-time offer, it's like it kind of goes really in sync. Like, for example, by the time it's your junior year, like of summer, you're trying to get an internship, and let's say you got that internship. After that, like summer, they kind of tell you right then and there if you got the job or not. And so, you know, in let's say like you did get that offer, you're set. Like you can, you know, chill your senior year, or like, you know, or even like apply to other jobs during your senior year, but you wouldn't have to worry so much because you have a plan, you have that job set. So and then like, you know, whenever you graduate, like you can, you know, go into like the job you initially had, or something new that you found like in between that time. So I just feel like it goes very like in plan. You're not having to like wait on answers for so long, just because like sometimes I know like if you apply to something on like Indeed or like Glassdoor, I can't speak for all companies, but you know, there could be some companies that like it just takes a while for them to like get your resume, you know, like some just go through a scanner and then you're just like, you know, can't even get to like say hi or like talk to them and build a relation. And other companies are great at like being able to just see it spot on and call you, and you know, you just can never really tell. But I think with internships, it's a pretty good one, just because you're able to get interaction, because there's a chance that they come to your school and they're just trying to get you to do an internship. And also like, you know, it's just so like, I feel like there's a lot of like, for example, Handshake is providing you with so many internships out there that can really help you go that route and just make you feel comfortable with the timeline of when you're trying to get that full-time offer. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, it's really helpful. And, you know, I'm sure it'll be motivating for students to come to the career fair and
Yeah, of
to
course.
so it's always wonderful to hear. So yeah, well, those were all my questions. Did you have any, was there anything you wanted to talk about we didn't get to today, or did you have any other things you want to discuss?
I feel like if I were to just like kind of give any advice out there, you know, I would say personally, whenever I was in college, it was a lot about what specific company I wanted to go for. And I cared about that so much that I cared more about putting that on my resume versus how I would feel if I were actually at that company. And I feel like, you know, don't be so hard on yourself. Just kind of like, you know, like I said, the career fair is a great place for you to just kind of like feel what the company's about. I could like the culture of a company is very important. I never prioritized that enough when I was in college. It was so much more about, you know, the name of the company and how good it would look on my resume. But I didn't prioritize how I would feel on my everyday life, like working there and working with the people that I work there and what the company truly values. So I would just say really, dig deep into like understanding like the culture of the company so that you can truly like have a great great mindset into work every single day. Because I mean, you're spending so much time there, like you want to be able to thrive in that, and you want to make sure that your values just kind of resonate with that company's values too. So let's say that's something that the personal life lesson for me, just so like narrowing it down to like specific company that I wanted to versus realizing what's really important.
Yeah.
And how, and making sure you're in the right company to be able to be the best you, so that you can do a really good job. So.
Yeah, you're so wise. That's very wonderful advice that I'm sure that the students, because I think, it's easy when to be like, oh, this company, this company, this company, and then have like a list of your top, but not considering,
Yeah, exactly. And for sure. I think that like it came from whenever you're like a senior year in high school, you're just like, I want to go to this college, I got to make these grades. Like it was just so specific that it just, you're like in sync with that kind of mindset. And I feel like once you really get into the workforce, you just realize like you just want to be happy. You just want to be in a company, in an environment where you grow, like not just professionally, but personally. So I just like really value that lesson that I had to learn. And if I could ever like, be able to share that with someone or like, help someone out and see it that way too, then, I'd be glad that I could share that with them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Mr. for being here today and for sharing about your experiences as a UNT student and as an intern and now in your role now at Ryan. And I know this is going to be a really great video for students to watch, especially our business students. So just thank you so much again for your time. And I'll let you know when the video goes up. And I will reach out to you soon. So
sounds good. Thank you so much for having me. I love being able to, speak for all my UNT people and just like be able to give back anything. I mean, I know it's only been like 3 years into the workforce for me, but anything that I've learned along the way thus far, like I love sharing that and just like carrying people throughout my journey too.
So much. And let me know if you hear about any internships opportunities at Ryan. I will let students know. So
of course.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.